So, in anticipation of LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which is still set to release later this year, I've been going back and playing some old LEGO games. This week I've been playing LEGO Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars, which I actually haven't fully played through. This is my first proper run through. I never played it when it initially released back in 2011. I was doing other stuff, just trying to think of what I was playing back then. Probably like Red Dead Redemption, LA Noire, Max Payne, those games. That's what I was doing. It's kind of been one of those games that I pick up every now and then and play a few levels of. And although I think it's an incredible game, there are a few gameplay elements and features of this game I think the new LEGO Star Wars needs to avoid. A lot of people say that LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga is the best LEGO experience out there, and every game since has failed to capture the same magic that made the Complete Saga so memorable. So today I want to go over 3 specific things that I think the new LEGO Star Wars needs to avoid that the Clone Wars got wrong. These are things to do with what made the Complete Saga so special and why perhaps LEGO Star Wars 3 and other LEGO games fell a little short of this, don't live up to the original, the classic. And I want to ask you guys what the Skywalker Saga needs to do if it's going to be just as memorable as the Complete Saga. A couple of things it needs to avoid that more recent LEGO games seem to gravitate towards. So anyway, let's do this. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Now first of all, I love LEGO Star Wars and every LEGO Star Wars game that's ever been created. I really think Star Wars and LEGO go so well together. If you didn't know this, the original LEGO Star Wars, the video game, was the first LEGO game ever created in this style. With a crossover franchise, it built the foundations of what LEGO gaming still is today. And I actually made a video all about that a few weeks ago. You can find that in the top right corner. Personally, the LEGO game I've played the most is definitely the Complete Saga. I've done several run-throughs of the story, played it when it first came out back in 2007. I played both the original LEGO Star Wars video game and LEGO Star Wars the original trilogy. I've had a lot of experience playing this game, so when jumping into LEGO Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars, there's definitely some significant differences that I've noticed. Visually, it's more striking, there's more detail, the graphics are heavily improved, obviously it's a more recent game, and there's constantly a lot more going on the screen at any one time. I think this here is a great example of LEGO Star Wars 3 at its most chaotic and its most extreme. There's so much happening here on the screen all at once, and I think this, although it's exciting and pushes LEGO to new boundaries, showing off the power of the game and the game engine, for me, this is where the game starts to fall apart and stops being fun. Which is interesting because in some ways you have to think more is better, right? What do we want from LEGO Star Wars games, or even Star Wars games in general? Giant scale, a lot of enemies, a lot of chaos going on the map, like the Battle of Geonosis. I think that's the experience most Star Wars gamers want. The ability to have so many characters on screen at any one time, constantly engaging and interacting. This should be more fun, right? Last week I installed a mod for LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga that spawns dozens of AI enemies into the game. Which is lots of fun to play around with, but it's exactly as it looks. Crazy, chaotic, and you have no control over what's happening. And the reason this is fun is because it's a mod and not how the actual game plays. But LEGO Star Wars 3 actually chooses to give you this experience. This mission is designed to make you feel overwhelmed. It's chaos, and it's up to you to figure out how to stop the chaos. But for me, this is where LEGO Star Wars stops being fun. There were so many times playing this game where myself and the person I had with me playing couch co-op would lose sight of where our character even was on the screen, and it took us several long, stressful minutes to figure out what we were actually supposed to be doing here, which is build the cannon in the middle to destroy the enemy's cannon so the LAAT can land, and then we can get the tactical droid's head and order the droids to stop sending in reinforcements. It's a puzzle and took us a few minutes to solve. Sure, I have no problem with that, but the overcrowdedness, the clutter of this puzzle is just one of the few things I'm going to talk about today that I think the Clone Wars does too much of. Using chaos like this as a puzzle mechanic, as if to show off how many AI characters can fit on the screen at once, it gets messy. Now, the Complete Saga doesn't suffer from this same problem. I believe this game was designed and built at the perfect time for it to be released. It utilized the software and hardware capabilities of its time. It didn't go overboard and delivered an experience that was the perfect blend of of combat, puzzle solving, and adventuring. But with the Clone Wars designed and released in 2011, the developers once again used the software and hardware capabilities of the time, which led to not only higher attention to detail and better animations and better graphics, but busier missions with lots more going on. It's no longer just simple, it's cluttered and messy, and I think this is something the developers of the new LEGO Star Wars need to be aware of. I mean, it's 2020, the Skywalker Saga is going to be open world and most likely the biggest LEGO game ever created, so it needs to be aware that more is not always better. Just because you have the power to have 200 AI on the screen at once doesn't mean that that's the right thing to do. Now, one thing the Skywalker Saga is definitely going to benefit from is the third-person camera. The new LEGO Star Wars doesn't have a fixed camera like so many previous LEGO games do, which would get super frustrating. This is a criticism a lot of people have about the complete saga. You get the camera locked in certain awkward positions and you can't actually see what you're doing. But in the new game, it's going to be a completely new camera system that never locks the camera into one place. You'll have free range of motion, which I think will help if there are some busier missions and sequences with a lot going on the screen all at once, because at least you'll be able to keep track of where your character is if you're following them with the actual camera. But that said, another section of the Clone Wars I'm not enjoying as much as the originals is the way this game splits you and your partner off on two separate missions. And I'm not just talking about the split camera when you're in different parts of a map. I'm talking about when you're actually locked away from each other and have to complete your own objective to progress the story. Again, for me, this stops being fun because you're no longer working together, and that's a huge reason why I want to play these games and why I'm sure so many of you do too. Split screen couch co-op games are rare nowadays, so when I play LEGO Star Wars, I want the full experience to be with a friend. I can see why they were experimenting with split missions in this game. I'm not sure if any other LEGO games had this previously, but this is another thing I think the new game needs to avoid. Now, just to add some background information, I'd call myself an average gamer. I'm not amazing at video games. I'm sure some of you have been watching for a while know that you don't watch my channel for amazing kill streaks, of which I have very few, but when it comes to video games, I can learn my way around and do okay if I spend a bit of time playing. But with that said, I'm really struggling with some of the missions and puzzles in the Clone Wars, and the LEGO games are games that are marketed at average gamers. Average people are supposed to be able to play these games and solve these puzzles. And I don't think I'm to blame for being unable to do these. I don't think I'm just clueless making my way through these missions. Some of the puzzles in LEGO Star Wars 3 are just downright confusing and unclear. And I'm not even talking about the additional puzzles you can do to unlock all the collectibles and everything. These are just the main story mission ones you need to complete to progress through the mission. And there's been several times while playing this game where myself and the person I'm playing with get stuck at a certain point, can't figure out what we need to do, have some idea, but just can't seem to get it done. The game doesn't give you a clear indication of what to be doing, which again, I think is something the complete saga did so well. It didn't hold your hand, but at the same time, it used visual cues such as colors and light and force ability to guide you through completing these puzzles. And again, I think this is something LEGO Star Wars 3 suffers from because of the graphics and detail in this game. Obviously, it looks more impressive than the complete saga because it's a newer game, but it's just not always as clear and gets confusing, frustrating, and it's moments like these that break immersion. Okay, let's all be honest, a lot of the way we play LEGO Star Wars games is through trial and error. You try something, you try and put a piece in place, doesn't work, so you try something else. And actually solving some of the puzzles in this game, in the end, to solve it, it'll either be something really obscure and not at all what I was expecting, or it'd be annoyingly obvious. Some of the puzzles I found I was even solving accidentally, and in the end, I didn't even know what I'd done to get the door open or unlock the next room or whatever it was. I'd start blaming the game mechanics and maneuverability, and this is something the new LEGO Star Wars also needs to avoid. Fiddly puzzles, trying to rotate a piece to connect to another LEGO piece, manually using the force to move things. Sure, I'm happy this is a thing, but when it comes to locking a specific piece in the wall or up against another LEGO piece, it's just annoyingly tiresome, and nothing goes in as easy as it should. I mean, sure, we can look back to LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, where moving things manually using the force wasn't a thing. You'd hold down the force button and the game would move it into place for you, which worked great, but I can see how this style of mechanic is outdated. But the Clone Wars suffers from the other degree of this, giving the player almost too much freedom of movement, and then not locking pieces into place when they're close enough. Come on, just put it in. Is this even what I'm supposed to be doing? If the new LEGO Star Wars can get the balance of this right, not make puzzle solving fiddly and tiresome, and instead focus on more refined mechanics, then I think its puzzles will be more enjoyable to solve. Now recently, I've also been playing another LEGO game, which I want to talk a bit about and compare to the Clone Wars. LEGO Harry Potter Years 5 to 7. There was a sale on Steam a while back and I bought a bunch of LEGO games, so thought I'd jump into this one and have a bit of a play around. And the reason I'm comparing it to LEGO Star Wars 3 is because it was actually released in the same year, 2011. So I'm a few hours into this game and so far it doesn't suffer from the same issues I'm having with the Clone Wars. So far, nothing has been overcrowded and overly complicated. The game gives you enough direction, but it also doesn't hold your hand. Puzzles are fun to solve and don't have fiddly mechanics like the Clone Wars. Force abilities in LEGO Star Wars 3 are replaced by using the wand in LEGO Harry Potter, but the mechanic of lifting things up is pretty much the same. I think it's so interesting that this game gets it more right. So is LEGO Star Wars 3 alone in these issues? Were the developers trying something different with this game and trying to push the boundaries of level design? It just seems like they haven't taken too many cues from the complete saga. There's definitely elements here, but a lot of the puzzle solving and map design is quite different. But with all the criticisms I have with this game, I still think it's an incredible experience to play. So far, I'm having lots of fun, and apart from these few issues, which do make part of the game feel a bit tedious and confusing, the overall experience is fantastic. The character roster, animation, and amount of locations all make this game unique, and playing it is getting me hyped for the Skywalker saga. So I'd love to know if you've experienced anything like what I've talked about today. Did you find the puzzles in the Clone Wars to be too confusing or unclear? And do you have a lot of experience with this game? Let me know in the comments. And you can catch up on some of my other LEGO videos here, and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and join my Discord for lots more Star Wars gaming, LEGO Star Wars, news, and more. And thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.
Stay bombastic.